Hey, what's up, everybody? Andrew from Fantasy 8 here, and I'm joined by Lee from Regicidal Collections. Hey, Lee, how you
What's
doing?
up? Great. How are you?
Doing great. So we are reviewing the first half and looking forward to the second half. It's been a definitely crazy year of baseball so far this year.
It's been pretty wild. A lot of X factors involved.
Definitely. So what would you say is your biggest surprise so far this year?
Biggest surprise so far this year. Aaron Judge is up there, of course.
Absolutely.
I'm more surprised about how many injuries there were this year.
Yeah, especially early on.
I mean, the 10-day DL is obviously going to be a factor towards that, but I still think people are getting injured at way higher of a clip. So that's probably the most surprising thing to me this year. I'm pretty sure everyone in baseball has gotten injured in some way, whether they jammed their pinky or collapsed a lung, whatever it may be, someone's been injured.
Yeah, Rob Manfred actually came out and said he's not entirely happy with how teams are using the 10-day DL.
Really?
Yeah, I don't remember the full quote, but that was about to the extent of what he was saying.
I mean, I agree. I think that it's just getting destroyed. I think the 10-day DL is good. I mean, it's good for fantasy because we don't have to worry about the 14-day DL or the anything longer than that. So it's good for fantasy, but it's not good for real life, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. So first thing we're going to talk about is some lower-owned players that have had interesting first halves this season. And we'll start off with one of the higher-owned players, and that's Paul DeJong, 39%. He is the shortstop for the St. Louis Cardinals ever since Aledmus Diaz went down.
Your boy. Both of your boys.
Yeah. I was surprised. I mean, Aledmus Diaz was a 2016 All-Star, and now he's in AAA Memphis.
Yeah, that's very surprising. I had him in a few leagues as well, and he just fell off.
Yeah, I think I've purged myself of any ownership except for about 20-team league of Diaz. But DeJong has been very productive since coming up. 9 home runs and 128 at bats, batting a little bit over 300, and he's eligible at second, third, and shortstop.
Lots of position eligibility.
He had 3 home runs in a row going. I mean, I'm sure you saw the Mets series. He just went off on them.
Yeah, I don't appreciate that. So if you could send him a harshly worded email for me, I'd appreciate it.
Looking forward, for at least in my opinion, as a Cardinal fan, the power, he's had power in the minors, but he hasn't necessarily hit at a 300 rate. He had a great spring training. This spring training was actually the first time I'd heard of him, and with how he's playing, I don't think we'll see Diaz anytime soon.
Really? You don't think he comes up at all this year, or maybe eventually?
You know, I think we'll see him at some point, but I wouldn't say in the next month at least. They need to continue to see how DeJong does, and as long as DeJong stays hot, Diaz will not be playing shortstop.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think I can get behind that as well.
So next up, we have Josh Bell at 30%, and Bell's been a little bit of a mystery for me. I expected him to hit for a high average coming in because he had more walks than strikeouts at one point last year. But he's actually shown a lot of power and not great average.
I mean, I never was high on him at all. I know a lot of people were. I know you were one person who pretty much believed in him and thought he would be a good high average kind of first baseman, like 18, 20, somewhere around there?
Yeah.
I mean, I just never saw anything promising with him. I mean, his high average he could, but he's not hitting for a high average right now. And also his home runs have been shocking. What does he have right now? Over 10?
He has 16 home runs going into
16,
break.
yeah. I mean, when I last looked at him as like I might pick this guy up kind of look, he had 9 home runs, and he was on that little mini tear. So
yeah.
I don't know. I don't believe in him that much. I don't believe in the Pirates at all, if that kind of matters for anything. I don't think that the Pirates are a very serviceable team, so I don't think Josh Bell, to me, is viable.
Absolutely. I mean, with Gregory Polanco not doing well, and some of their pitchers not doing as great, and although it's a surprisingly soft position, yeah, the Pirates are not really contenders there. Although Bell entered the All-Star break in a 5-game hitting streak. He's actually 5 for his last 9. but
That's promising, but still.
Yeah, the biggest issue is he's lucky he has outfield eligibility, because if he only had first base eligibility, he wouldn't be relevant at all.
Absolutely. I mean, I could see him being like your fifth outfielder, but I can't see him being your only first baseman or your utility first baseman, you know?
Right. I think I have him, let's see. Yeah, I have him in a 12-team league, but I don't think he ever plays.
Yeah, it's difficult. It definitely is very difficult because you want something good from him, but you just can't. Like you said,
Yeah.
Gregory Polanco is not performing, so you know, he was one of my biggest busts this year.
Same here. So I think I would think Bell would hit for a higher average in the second half, but I don't think he's going to hit many home runs, and I think that's going to hurt his fantasy relevance. So even though I do like him, I like his future, I don't think he's going to be very relevant going into the second half fantasy-wise.
I completely agree.
So number 3, we got Bradley Zimmer, who's 13% owned. Of course, he was sent over to the Indians. And he's done very well for how low he's owned.
I like Zimmer. I think he's got a lot of moxie, as you would say. I think he's a very good, like, 4th, 5th outfielder. I don't think he's anything better than that. I don't think he's going to show, like, extreme home run and speed combo. He's just going to be like a DJ LeMahieu in my eyes, where he'll give you a little bit of everything every now and then. So
yeah, he's got 5 home runs and 9 steals and 151 at-bats while batting 285. And I just like him, you know, just in case you need a little speed. He was also hitting well going into the break. He was 6 for his last 14. He's stolen 2 bases in the last 5 games. So he's doing a little bit. And I think the biggest thing he's got going for him is he plays for a good team and a good lineup.
Right. And that's the best thing, that if you pick him up, you can at least guarantee he probably will get some runs for you. Even if he's not producing fully, like getting all the steals you want, all the homers you want, he's going to get you some runs at least and a pretty good average. So he's not a bad option. I like him.
Yeah. And another guy I would think similar to Bradley Zimmer, except for obviously less power, and that's recently activated Colton Wong.
Oh, another Cardinal boy.
Yeah, he's batting .301 on the season. He just got activated from an injury. He's only 3% owned, and that's why he's on this list. He's not a guy that should be 50% owned, but he should be owned in deeper leagues, more than 3%, because even though he hasn't hit for average in the minors, that was always his profile. Obviously, the biggest issue with him is playing time. The Cardinals just don't have they have tons of guys to move around, which is a great problem, but bad when it comes to playing time. And that goes for DeHong, that goes for Colton Wong. We'll talk about Luke Voigt later. He's probably the guy that's most out. Matt Carpenter might be sitting against lefties. So there's a lot of playing time when it comes to the Cardinals.
Right. I mean, I hope Carpenter doesn't sit during lefties, because he's my only second baseman in a few leagues, so I need him to play.
Well, I mean, it might be good. He's batting 191 with a homer this year against lefties.
Hey, that one homer helped.
Yeah, but Colton Wong, what I want to see from him is not the power, but I want to see him to hit for average and stolen bases, because he makes for a decent second baseman if he does, because he stole, I think, around 20 bases last year. I'm looking it up now.
He stole a good amount last year, if I can remember correctly.
Oh, no, that was 2015. He stole 15 last year. He stole 7.
Okay.
But he really hasn't hit for average so far in his major league career, but his 838 OPS this year is his highest in his major league career. Again, this is a deeper league guy. This isn't someone you're running out in a 12-team league. But if you're hoping for a little speed in a roto or something like that, Wong might be a guy you look at.
Yeah, definitely.
Then, of course, we got Ramiel Tapia at 8% owned. And this is another guy, great talent, but playing time issues.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a lot of talent. He's a guy that's always been kind of hyped up for the Rockies, and I've always been kind of interested in him. And the fact that he plays in cores, and he's just a good option. I like him, but like you said, playing time's the big problem, and that mainly because they have probably one of the better outfields in baseball, the Rockies do. So
absolutely. Selfishly, I'm hoping Carlos Gonzalez continues to struggle, because I have no shares of Cargo, and so that Tapia can get more playing time.
Same. I hope he falls off a cliff continuously.
Yeah, and obviously I don't know if David Dahl exists. I don't know where he is, but you got to think at least some point this year, he's going to be somewhat in the mix for outfield.
I would think so. I mean, David Dahl last year, I remember the fantasy baseball subreddit was going crazy over his huge hit streak and his homers, and now he was killing it. Man, if he doesn't come back this year, it'll be disappointing for a lot of people.
I was one of those guys that was crazy over him.
Me too.
I way overdrafted him, and he's been sitting on the DL for months now.
Yeah, I picked him up last year in my league, and I wrote him out. I actually traded him in a deal, and someone kept him, and they dropped him, I think, since he's been on the DL the whole year.
Yeah, I was actually really excited in a 16-team league. I had it's a pretty extensive minor league draft, and I had drafted Andrew Benintendi, David Dahl, and Stephen Piscotty, and I was thinking that's going to be a terrific outfield in a 16-team league, and then you got Piscotty, who stinks, and then Dahl, who hasn't even played.
Yeah, just turned out to be a huge bust.
Yeah. So next guy on the list is actually a Met, and that's TJ Rivera, and that's one guy I've taken a little bit of interest in. I saw him during the Cardinal series, and I saw him in a game before, and he seems to be able to hit the ball well. I did tweet out that he kind of reminds me of a younger Justin Turner.
Yeah, I loved that comparison that you made. I saw it on Twitter, I believe, and I thought that was perfectly spot on. He really does remind me of like Justin Turner. And I think Justin Turner is a little bit more developed, obviously, now that he's batting like 370. But TJ Rivera has that hit tool where he can hit to pretty much all sorts of the field. He can put it to right, put it to left. He's got a decent hard hit rate. I mean, he's pretty good. He drives it to the gap often and frequently. So I think he's like a Justin Turner as well. I think that comparison is really spot on.
Yeah, he came into the All-Star break pretty hot. He has a 8-game hitting streak, I believe, batting .299 right now.
And he's getting a lot of playing time since the Mets are banged up beyond belief.
Yeah. Do you see the playing time continuing going forward in the second half for him?
Yes, I do. I just don't think the Mets will stay, as long as he stays healthy, of course. But I do see a lot of playing time left in his future, especially if he keeps playing like this. I mean, Terry Collins will have no choice but to play him. But I think he will definitely have playing time because the Mets just can't stay healthy, regardless of who it is, what it is. We're probably going to be unloading people at the break to sell off, and he's definitely going to stick. So, yeah.
And the eligibility is great with first, second, and third on Yahoo.
Yeah.
Yeah, so definitely 2% owned. He shouldn't be that low. If you're needing someone for average, definitely look at TJ Rivera.
Absolutely.
And next we got Luke Voit. That's another Cardinal. He's also 2% owned. And this is a guy I'm bringing up because he's been getting a little bit of talk in fantasy leagues. And I'm not bringing him up to tell you to pick him up, but rather the concern with Colton Wong back, that means Carpenter's probably going to be moving back to first base. And even though Voigt's done great, I mean, he's shown absolute great power. They just have nowhere to play him.
Right. Yeah, I mean, they have Carpet first. They played him at second for a few games just to see if Voit could play first and Piscotty could play first. They just have too many people. They just have too many people who can play everywhere. Yeah,
I mean, you got Colton Wong needs time. Ball DeHung needs time. So they got to get Greg Garcia in there somewhere, although I think Greg Garcia should be starting a little less. Obviously, their outfield is already too full to fit anybody with how Pham's been playing. Although, if Pham does go on the DL, I haven't heard any news yet from him. He was injured. I think it was his hip going into the All-Star break.
Yeah, he hurt his hip a little bit.
If he does go on the DL, I think that will help Voit short-term, but not long-term.
I agree. I think Voigt's just a short-term fix, not anything that'll stick around long-term. I mean, I'm not a huge Cardinals fan like you, but I think Voit does not stick around very long.
And the highest person I'm talking about here, and that's Ian Happ, who's 52% owned. I think he was originally supposed to be just a short-term call-up, but he played his way to an everyday spot in Madden's lineup.
Yep. I mean, it's a Cub, so he's obviously going to be high-owned. And I don't know. He's good. He's very good. He's always been a top prospect, a guy who's been kind of hyped up, not too much, but a guy who's always supposed to be reliable. Almost, to me, reminds me of like a Tapia kind of guy, like had that pedigree, but never really got the time, and then he got his time and shined. So I think he's a good option for deeper leagues. I think he's even viable in a 12-teamer. I think he can do it. He's batting fourth sometimes for the Cubs. I mean, Madden switches around that lineup forever, but I don't know. I think he's a pretty standstill option there.
Yeah, and he struggled a little bit early on, but he's definitely picked it up. He's batting .257, 13 home runs, and he was definitely tearing it up going into the break. Second base and outfield eligible, and obviously, even though where the Cubs are at, their lineup is still killer, and he'll get you the counting stats.
Yeah.
So next on the list, we got our first pitcher, our only pitcher actually, and that's Andrew Moore for Seattle.
Okay, not a believer.
This is a guy I first saw him because he played for the Arkansas Travelers in Double-A, and obviously I live in Arkansas. I think he's not a 12-team unless he's a streaming option in 12-team leagues. But if you're in deeper leagues, pick him up. He's not going to get the K rate, but he had a good whip in the minors, a good ERA. He can pitch deep into games. He hasn't gone less than 6 innings in his 3 starts so far, obviously. And he's only had a whip above 1 in games in his last one, and that was the 6-inning start.
I think Moore is a good stream option. I mean, I play in mainly 10 and 12-team leagues, so to me, he's nothing more than a stream option. I mean, if he puts together a few good starts, I mean, he has already, but if he keeps it up, then maybe you give him a chance. But to me, he's nothing more than a stream option. I think he's decent, nothing spectacular. His K rate's not going to blow you away, like you said. So, I mean, if you need a guy to eat up innings and a possible guy to get wins, then go for it. But if you're looking for a guy who's going to blow you away with Ks, throw him back.
Right. He'll probably end up being one of those more better in real life than fantasy just because of his strikeouts.
Absolutely.
And one of the biggest disappointments of the season, Dansby Swanson.
Oh, a lot of people were super high on him.
Yeah, he was usually going around 150-ish, maybe a little bit higher in a couple other leagues going into the year, and he's batting .221 with 6 home runs. I think the expectations were just too high going into this year just because of what he did last year, and obviously, honestly, I wouldn't have a problem dropping Swanson. I think shortstop's deep enough that you can find someone better on the wire, like an Andrelton Simmons or something like
Even
that.
Paul DeJong, I think you could find.
Yeah, I would take DeHong over Swanson.
Me too. I would absolutely as well. I mean, Swanson was drafted in my 10-teamer very late because it's a keeper. So he was someone that people were high on, thought they were going to be like a 300 average, batting in front of Freddie Freeman with 100 runs. You know, a lot of people were high on him. I was high on him too, but didn't really want to bite the bullet and take him. But I don't think he's going to do anything special. Like I said, he doesn't profile out to be someone who's going to give you a lot, like another DJ LeMahieu guy who could bat with maybe a high average when he gets it all clicking, but speed and power is just not going to fall into his lap.
Right. Even with what he did last season, the profile was he can do everything, but he's not going to do anything excellent. And so far, he hasn't done anything excellent, and he hasn't done anything well either.
He hasn't done anything mediocre.
Yeah. And luckily, I didn't really draft him in the offseason, although that's because I drafted Diaz ahead of him, so it just kind of evens out being, that way anyway. But
going into the year, were you more high on Tulo or were you more high on Swanson? Like, if they were both there, which one would you take?
I would Swanson probably.
Really? Yeah. See, I was going Tulo. Sometimes I don't believe in these really hyped up rookies. Like, I drafted Bryant when he came up in the 7th round or something. Like, I believe in certain guys, but Swanson was never one of those guys.
Right. For me, around those picks, that's when I go for my upside guys. So that's why I tip it, because I'll get my veterans early on, and then I'll look for upside guys later on, and that's why I didn't really go for too low around then. And then recent call up in Nick Williams for the Phillies, and he's probably not going to be the last person we talk about when it comes to Phillies prospects.
Nick Williams. Oh, man. I don't even know what to say.
I know. I never liked him. He did have an attitude problem in the minors, and he never really hit that well, although he didn't hit well last season. He's had a pretty decent year this year in the minors. I'm not holding my breath on him at all. I think he should be owned in 20-team leagues, so more than 1%. But he did hit his first home run a couple days ago, just before the break, and he's batting .281. But I'm not seeing a ton from him. I mean, his obviously a lot of people have trouble with strikeout rate, but he struck out 136 times in 125 games in the minors so far this year.
I mean, I got to watch him live. I went to a Mets game, and the Phillies were at Citi Field. And I watched him at the plate, and he looked lost for the most part. He swung a good bat. I mean, there was 2 games I went to. One game, he was barreling up the ball really well, and he was just hitting it hard to people, like directly at people. So he didn't do well. I believe he went 1 for 3 that game, and he had like 2 lineouts right at the outfield and then 1 single, and he scored. And then the other game I went to, he was 2 for 5, and he was hitting decent. But when he was getting out, he just looked completely lost, like he couldn't keep up. So I don't know, when I see something like that in person, I'm not a big fan of them in general. But I mean, if you just need a blank average, go for it.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest strikes against them is obviously that Philly lineup.
Yeah, I mean, probably one of the worst.
Yeah, I mean, Franco's not hitting well. I don't know what's up with
Tommy Joseph.
Have you seen Herrera's attitude problems and the stuff he's done on the bases lately?
No, I have not heard about that, but I do know that like he was called out by somebody. I think it was Mike Schmidt. And Mike Schmidt was like, he cannot be a leader of your team. And ever since then, he's been like downward sloping.
Yeah, it was actually in a Cardinals game. That's why I first saw it. The third base coach got in front of him to tell him to stop at third, and he went out, basically almost out of the baseline to go around the third baseman, and he was thrown out by like 10 steps.
Wow.
Yeah, and he's stolen when he's gotten the red light before. So I don't know what's up with him, but I know the Phillies aren't happy with him.
Yeah, I would not be happy with that either.
So now let's transition into some of the breakouts this year. There's been a lot of them.
I mean, there's been a lot of people to shock. I mean, most notably Aaron Judge, but there has been a lot of people that just came out and started destroying. A lot of people that finally shined, like Marcell Ozuna. So,
yeah. So since you mentioned Judge first, I guess we can talk about him first. Obviously, he's ranked #1 in Yahoo right now.
#1. Yep. Over everybody. Goldschmidt, Trout.
Mm-hmm. Although Trout's injury calls into question whether, we don't know who would be #1 then.
Very true. He was #1 before he got injured, so.
But 30 home runs, breaking the Yankees all-time rookie records. He's batting .329. He's got a crazy OPS, and he's even got 6 stolen bases sprinkled in.
Which is just a sprinkle on top of the ice cream cake there.
Absolutely. And typically, I don't like guys that have a high K rate, but I don't have a problem with Judge just because his walk rate's so high. And that tells me even though he's striking out, he is seeing the ball well.
He's definitely seeing the ball well. If you watch him, you can see it. Like, if a lot of people don't believe in him because they haven't seen him actually in game, the first time people saw him were in the home run derby, and they're like, wow, this guy can hit pop-ups to first base, and they go 390 feet over right field. But I think that people don't really see the patience he has at the plate. He pretty much developed fully as a hitter, but I still think his strikeout rate is going to be, hefty. I think his walk rate will dip a little bit. His BABIP is not sustainable. I think he's going to be a 270 hitter the rest of the way with 20 more home runs. I could see a 50 homer season. I can't see a 300 batting average.
You're right, and that would win him Rookie of the Year and maybe MVP easily, depending on how the Yankees do.
Maybe Triple Crown. Who knows?
Yeah. And one of the most impressive things I found about him, looking deeper into his numbers, was just in June, he had a 6.7% soft contact rate. I've never seen a contact rate that low.
Yeah, I agree. I haven't either.
So definitely look for more of the same from Judge going into the second half. And let's look at one of the guys that he gets compared. Well, the one of the guys that gets compared to Judge, and that's Cody Bellinger.
See, he's a guy, to me, that screams Jock Peterson. Not because they're just on the same team, but he just screams Jock Peterson. Like, when he's not hitting home runs, he's doing nothing.
Right. Yeah. I do love his power. Obviously, he hasn't hit as many home runs as Judge, but he has a faster home run pace, I think, by just a little bit because he didn't get called up at the same time as Judge. He's got 25 homers, 58 RBIs so far this season. And he's also sprinkling a little bit of stolen bases with 5, and he's got around the same K rate. I think Bellinger, when I look at these stats, I think this is what he's doing. He's a 260, maybe a 270 hitter, but he's going to strike out with the way that batting stance is, even though it gives him power, but he's going to strike out with it.
Absolutely. I mean, like you said, I think he's going to be a guy who throughout his career is a 275 hitter that can hit 30 home runs and 90 RBIs every year. I think he's like Adrian Gonzalez, except less batting average, like when Adrian Gonzalez was good. I think he's like the perfect new age Adrian Gonzalez.
Yeah, definitely. Next, we got one of my favorite breakouts that I had coming into the season, and he's already broken out once already back in 2014, and obviously that's Anthony Rendon.
You've always been pretty high on him. Ever since I've known you, you've always liked Anthony Rendon. I mean, I liked him too. I wasn't really playing fantasy heavily when he had his MVP year, but I've always been on board. I mean, now with the lineup around him, how do you not love Rendon?
Absolutely. He's got 16 home runs. His career high is 21, 54 RBIs. And you know me, and I love my plate discipline, and he's got 48 walks to 47 strikeouts.
Yeah, that's a good sign.
I would like to see more steals. He's only gotten 5 steals, and I was hoping for a 15 steal season. So, maybe he can run a little bit more when you're going in the second half.
I think he's going to be a viable option. I think that everything he's putting up right now can be duplicated in the second half. I don't see anything that's, outlierish. I don't see anything that's just, hey, this guy's going to regress at all. I just think this is what he is. I think he's going to be a 25 home run guy, a 300, 290 average, 10 stolen bases for the year. I think he's just a consistent producer.
Yeah, and obviously the runs and the RBIs are going to be great just because he plays in Washington. He's reduced his strikeout rate from last year to 4.2%, so he's definitely taken steps forward from last year.
And his hard contact isn't too bad for a guy who's not profiled to be a very hard hit guy. 34% is not bad.
Yeah. Next, we got the George Springer from the 60-win Astros.
Oh my God, the Astros are absolutely killing it this year.
And for me, I was surprised when I saw Springer. I didn't know he had 27 home runs until I actually looked it up.
Well, he had 25 until the break. He had 2 in the day before the All-Star break, so he shot that up a little bit.
Obviously, the walk rate's a little bit low. Stolen bases aren't there at all, but with what he's produced, I think fantasy owners are definitely happy with what they got.
I mean, Springer to me was always a guy who was a 25-25 guy. So I always thought he was going to be a 25 homer, 25 stolen bases with the chance of hitting 35 home runs and getting 30 stolen bases. He could legitimately be a 30-30 guy. But he's just not stealing anymore, and now I think he just completely sold out for power. Obviously, he said his walk rate's not looking very good. But I just think he's a guy who completely sold out for power now, which is weird because he bats leadoff. Why do you want a soul? I guess the whole new age of the leadoff position, you've got Conforto, you've got Corey Dickerson. They're all batting leadoff. You had Schwarber at one point this year. But they're selling out for power, which I would like to see more getting on base and stealing bases for Springer with Altuve, Correa, Beltran, Reddick, people like that behind him. I don't know.
He doesn't have to be that big power guy.
No, he doesn't, but he's doing it. So, I mean, by all means, for fantasy purposes, he's ranked 6 right now on Yahoo. He's going to keep doing this. I think he's going to finish, if he's healthy, at about 40 home runs, which is, I don't think, too far off to say.
Yeah, I do think the hard contact rate a little bit low for what he's been doing. I'd like to see that come up a little bit. It's at 39.4%.
Right.
Next, we go to the tied leader in RBIs with Nelson Cruz, I believe, and that's Marcell Ozuna for the Marlins. And
he really broke out this year.
You got to wonder if he'll still be a Marlin. Obviously, the All-Star game just got over yesterday. We don't know what the Marlins team is going to look like after the trade deadline. There's so many rumors flying around.
I mean, a lot of people are on the move. It's a year where you could see a lot of people are going to be sellers, and there's a lot of people that we didn't expect to be buyers, like the Twins, maybe even the Rockies. Who knows? I mean, there's a lot of teams out there that are buying. Brewers. It's crazy.
Absolutely, and he's got 23 home runs and 70 RBIs, and this was a guy I've never been too high on. I had a chance to buy him in a league, and if I had known the stats he would have had now, I would have done the trade immediately. But when I looked at it, I was like, I mean, I like the power with Ozuna, but I don't see it, and I rejected the trade. So that's one of my regrets in the offseason. But I do think there are some stuff that do concern me, specifically the soft contact rate and the ground ball to fly ball ratio.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, first of all, Marcell Ozuna was always supposed to be this kind of guy and do what he's doing right now. He just never really did it, and he always fell off in the second half. He had a hot start last year too, I believe, and then just kind of did nothing the rest of the way. And I had another trade as well, like you. I could have got Ozuna for, I think, Jose Quintana, and I regret doing that. I mean, my biggest regret was not pulling a trigger on a Judge trade, but that's a different story. But Ozuna, I think, is going to keep this up. If he can just figure out how to get over that second half hump, he'll be good.
Yeah, I have a different opinion. I think he's going to slow down some, especially if some of those Marlin lineup pieces get traded away and he doesn't. That's going to leave him with a little bit less of a lineup.
Very true. I mean, he's going to have Stanton and he's going to have D. Gordon. I think the only people who could be moved are what? Yelich, Bohr,
Justin
maybe.
Bohr, yeah. Yeah, I definitely think the RBI pace will slow down. I also think he's more of a 280 hitter, not over 300 guy. But obviously, that's not a deal breaker when it comes to him. I don't know. I just feel like Ozuna might have that second half slump again.
I think he profiles to be a second half slump guy.
Yeah.
I think he's not going to hit 300 as well. Let me be clear on that. I think his RBIs will also dip too, but I don't think his power slows down at all. If he can figure out how to get over that hump, he's still going to hit probably about 35 home runs.
The next guy is one of the lowest guys I'm on for the second half when it comes to the people we're talking about, and that's Ryan Zimmerman.
There's a guy in my league aggressively trying to shop him to everyone. He just offers him for everyone's best player. It's very, very frustrating.
I would be trying to trade him too. I mean, you look at the stats and they're pretty, 330 batting average, 19 homers and 63 RBIs, but he hit 11 of those homers in April. He's only had 8 since. His BABIP is skyrocketed over what it was last year. It's over 100 points higher, and he's not walking.
No, they look good on Yahoo. When you look at him, you're like, oh, Ryan Zimmerman. Oh, his stats are pretty good. But then you look at the underlying things, like you said, 11 of the home runs were in April. If you look at his past, 40 games, it's just not been very impressive. So, I don't know. It's someone I'm also not high on at all. I think he's going to regress fully, might even get injured. I mean, I don't like to talk injuries to anybody, but he's a guy that always is usually oft injured. So, I don't know. I just don't believe in him. I would not trade for him. If I had him, I'd try to sell him high. Absolutely.
Absolutely. I would try to sell him, try to get, some pitcher or something like that. I don't have any. I think I do have one Ryan Zimmerman, but that's the league. I think I'm in 15th place, and I don't particularly care to shop for it. In the Roto League.
You just let him rot there.
Yeah. But I mean, he's got a 1.95 ground ball to fly ball in June, and that's the highest I looked at and all the players I looked at. Right. We actually got a question on the chat. Cubby Knowles joining with us.
What's up?
He says, old dynasty team in third place. Does he take Cano for Will Myers?
I would say Will Myers.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I would say yes too. If you look at any of my videos in the offseason, I was a Will Meyer hater going into this year.
How dare you? I should get off this podcast right now. I was big on Will Myers. He was one of my keepers. I like him a lot.
Yeah, and I mean, he hasn't done terrible. He batting .255, 16 home runs, 10 stolen bases, and then that's not bad at all. That's better than I thought he would do. But I think
his average obviously is gross. He's a stomachable average guy. If you can stomach the average, his counting stats are up there with everybody. I mean, he's got the stats, he's got the profile to be a 30-30 guy. I like him a lot. I think Cano he's getting to that point where he's about to fall off the roller coaster. So I think that it's a viable option.
No, he's getting Cano, not Myers.
Oh, he's getting Cano. Oh, well, no. Then I say no. Veto.
I would do it. I think Cano's got 2 or 3 years left, and he just said he just accepted it. But I think Cano is fine. He's in a good lineup, and I honestly think you could get better for a better dynasty piece, even if you wanted to flip them, than Myers.
True. Very true. I mean, Cano is, I think, a higher name than Will Myers. Plays for a better team, better market. Cano, to me, especially at second base, I guess it's definitely a hole that is willing to be filled. But for me, Will Myers is younger. Cano, obviously, like you said, I think he also has about 2 years left in him. So if you're going to ride out that dynasty and try to win now and win in the next 2 years, then take Cano. But if you're trying to set up for the future, then I think
he did say it was an old dynasty team. So obviously, I think he's going for it now.
Gotcha. Yeah, so then that's a smart move. Depends who your current second baseman is as well.
True. So next on the list is Travis Shaw, who got traded from Boston to Milwaukee, and he's had quite a year.
He was a guy last year I picked up off the waivers. He dominated for that 3-week stretch. Then I traded him, and he just got injured and did nothing and fell off and didn't even play anymore. So I love Travis Shaw for that reason.
Yeah, I mean, he's got 19 homers this season, 65 RBIs, 7 stolen bases. It seems like a lot of these power guys are sprinkling in a little stolen bases now, running a little bit more. And I like.
Yeah, they are. And on a side note, how did Travis Shaw get snubbed out of the All-Star game? Did no one vote for him? Did the Brewers not care?
Shaw and there was just too many good players. I mean, you can make a great case for Rendon should have been on the All-Star team too. So many guys they got snubbed.
I mean, Eric Thames could have been in it. Travis Shaw. I mean, there's a lot of the guys that could have been on that Brewers team is no joke. Domingo Santana, like they all got snubbed in my opinion.
Yeah, and you look at it, and I don't see. Obviously, his hard contact rate's a little bit low, but I don't see too many things that say he's going to regress too much, except for maybe the average. He's not.
Was he at 299 right now?
Yeah, he's at 299.
Yeah, I think that falls down to like 278.
Yeah, but he plays in a good ballpark. The lineup is surprisingly well, and the Brewers aren't going to sell off, obviously, because they're
no, they might be buyers.
They might be buyers. Yeah, definitely. So I think he can do something like this in the second half, a little bit less average.
I completely agree. I'm right on board with that.
Next, we got Justin Smoak, who did make the All-Star team, and he's already had a career high in home runs in 23.
Not even just made the All-Star team; he started the All-Star game.
Yeah, and you know,
unbelievable.
It's interesting. I mean, obviously, this is a really late bloomer. He's been in the league quite a while. The thing I found interesting was his ISO is pretty similar to last year, but he's already gotten a career high in home runs.
Yeah, 23. I mean, he's a guy. I don't know if you guys watch Gary and Thorne and those people who are the Blue Jays fans of the sports world. They're really high on Justin Smoak. They were big on him coming into the year, and if he had playing time, they liked him a lot. And he's getting that playing time, and he's dominating. I mean, he's really playing well. I don't think his average is going to stick, but I think his home runs are going to keep up. I think 32 to 36 is not out of the question.
Yeah, definitely. Somewhere around there. I don't know if I believe in him long term, but he's definitely had a good season.
Oh yeah, it's probably the outlier year when you look at Justin Smoak. Like he'll get picked in maybe like the 10th to 15th round next year, and then you'll see like, why did I pick Justin Smoak? I think this was the outlier year for him.
Absolutely. For the sake of time, we'll skip the last two and go right into some of the players that haven't been so good this season, and a lot of those guys are at third base.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're starting. Number one guy off is Matt Carpenter.
I still think he's fine. I mean, he's struggling, but I still think he's fine. Like, he's my second baseman in my league since he has so many position eligibilities, but he's struggling. But even with struggling, he's not doing terrible.
Exactly. His walk rate is at a career high. His 63 walks, 67 strikeouts. So he has cut down on that strikeout problem he had. He was starting to develop a strikeout problem, but it seems to be reduced a little bit. And all the numbers are pretty similar, and his BABIP is lower. So I think those all point to a positive second half for Carpenter.
Yeah, I mean, I bought low on Carpenter at the beginning of the year. He was struggling a little bit, and I knew someone was high on Kipnis. So I had Kipnis, and I traded Kipnis and Manea for Carpenter. So I thought that was good, and then he dropped Manea. I picked him back up when he got injured, and he dropped Kipnis eventually after that. So I think I banked out on that trade. I think he's going to have a great second half. All signs point to good things. So
absolutely, and ever since the Cardinals moved him back into the leadoff spot, he's batting .286 with 5 home runs, 45.1% hard contact rate, or really low 11.5% soft contact rate. So for whatever reason, he can produce in that leadoff spot.
Yeah, no, I loved when they moved him back to the leadoff spot. When I saw that 1 next to his name on Yahoo, I was like, oh, things are coming. And then he hit a homer that first game, I believe, too. So I'm a fan of him batting leadoff. I think he's just comfortable there. And he's like one of those George Springer guys who just says, you know what, I'm just going to bat leadoff and hit homers. Let's do it.
Yeah. Obviously, as mentioned earlier in the podcast, he is struggling against lefties, 191 home run. Yep. There hasn't been anything said, but I wonder if they're thinking about that, whether he'll get some planned days off against lefties. I think that could be a possibility, but I don't think it will have too much of an impact.
Yeah, I hope not. Like I said, he's my starter, so I hope he plays throughout the whole thing. I hope he figures out lefties at least.
One of the disappointing guys for me, Kyle Seager, and actually Matt Carpenter and Kyle Seager were both on a buy low article I wrote about a month ago. And so far, they haven't turned it around, but the other guy was Anthony Rizzo, and he's turned it around. So I'm hoping both of these guys can do that too.
I hope so too. I think I only have one share of Kyle Seager somewhere, but even that, I mean, I think he'll turn it around. He's always been a guy who's gotten better in the MLB. Every season, he's increased his stats somehow, and I think he's just going to rebound. He's got to click for him eventually, especially with that lineup around him, all that talent. He's going to hit his usual 25 homers and his 80 RBIs. He's just a consistent guy.
Yeah, and I mean, the lineup's even better than last year because they got Segura. They got the emergence of Mitch Haniger. Yep. It's a very decent line. course, Mitch Haniger hasn't been playing as well lately, but
and Ben Gamel too. They have Ben Gamel
yeah,
as well.
Ben Gamel's been hitting great.
Yep.
And I don't see a ton that makes me too concerned. I mean, his BABIP is kind of low at 271.
Yeah.
His hard contact rate could be better, but there's not too much that says he's going to be. And he was never a real high average guy, but he wasn't a 248 guy either.
No, he's usually a 270 guy around that range.
And the last third baseman is someone that I've gotten pretty low on with how he's played. The numbers, if you look at the underlying numbers, nothing's great when it comes to Alex Bregman.
No, Alex Bregman was a very big disappointment for a lot of people this year.
He's got 8 home runs this year, and that's in 84 games. He hit 8 home runs last year in 49. His soft contact rate is at 26.3%, and it's risen every month, so he's not getting better. The 8 stolen bases are nice, but these numbers aren't playable in a league. Honestly, if I were the Astros, I would do what the Cubs did with Schwarber, send him down and get him right.
Yeah, let him clear his head, figure out something. Maybe his swing's off, maybe his timing's off. Who knows? Just figure something out in the minors, come back and try to be viable again, because what he's doing is just not impressive. And the Astros are good that they can let him go down and find himself, you know?
Absolutely. I mean, of course, they still have Gurriel, and he can go play at third. They got the pieces to send him down.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then we'll go to Gregory Polanco. You mentioned him earlier.
Don't even talk about him. Don't even bring his name up.
Yeah, he's, it's just, I find myself almost dropping him in some 12-team leagues, but then they'll go on a mini hot streak, and I'll keep him, and then he just does nothing again. He's basically just been on my benches the entire year.
Yeah, I've had that same struggle in my main league, my 10-teamer. Polanco, to me, I dropped him since, but for that 2-week stretch, he hit like 3 multi-hit games, and I was like, okay, I'm holding on to him. This is the start. This is where he's heating up. He's got this. Then he went 0 for 5, 0 for 5, 0 for 4, and I'm like, okay, it's time to drop him. Then he would go like 1 home run, and then a stolen base. I'm like, okay, I'm keeping him. And then he goes 0 for 4, 0 for 4. I'm like, come on, you're killing me.
Exactly, and he's not striking out. He's striking out at 13.3%. He's stolen 8 in 9 attempts, but none of the other numbers really help him, especially the soft contact rate above his hard contact rate.
Yeah, that's not helpful. He hasn't been attempting many steals since he got back off the disabled list for that hamstring thing. I think his shoulder's still bothering him. I mean, that was a concern coming into the year, and I thought he was fine in spring training and stuff. I mean, WBC, he was killing it. That's why I was so high on my radar. In the WBC, he was hitting balls everywhere.
Yeah. See, my struggle
and now he's just doing nothing.
I only own him. I don't own him in any redrafts. I only own him in dynasty leagues, and that's been my struggle. He's been eating up a very valuable bench spot, but I just feel like I can't get rid of him either.
No, in a dynasty, it's much harder to let go of him. And in a redraft or a keeper league, everybody, I just want to give a quick disclaimer if you're listening. Don't feel bad about dropping Gregory Polanco. He's still on the free agency pool for my league for about 2.5 weeks now, and it's been very mind-clearing that he's off of my roster now. So if you're on the wire about keeping him or letting him go, give him 1 more week after the All-Star break. Just see how he plays. If he's doing bad, drop him. Trust me. If you're in a dynasty, it's a different story.
Yeah, definitely. Redrafts, it's time. It's time to move on.
Cut bait. Yeah.
Next guy, we got Trevor Story. Hasn't been a Cinderella story for him this year. It's been pretty rough.
It's been real bad, and I was high on him coming into the year, too. I mean, I had him last year. I was a part of the whole Trevor ending Story movement. I photoshopped Trevor Story on the moon. I photoshopped Trevor Story in, like, World War II. I put Trevor Story everywhere because I thought he was the next upcoming Jesus for me since that whole month he destroyed. But he's striking out a ton. He's
35.2%.
Yeah, I can't. I'm not with him anymore. I'm off the Story train. I didn't draft him this year. I have no shares of him, so I'm happy about that. But he's not a guy I would really target. I mean, he could bounce back. He might be a great buy low candidate, but I'm kind of staying away because you don't know if he's even going to get playing time with Dahl coming back. Desmond can move to short. Who knows?
He can. Yeah, and for me, when you look at dynasty teams, he might not be their dynasty shortstop anymore. Obviously, they have Brendan Rodgers, who's tearing it up in the minors.
Yep.
Can't play LeMahieu, Rodgers, and Arenado and Story at the same time.
No, especially with how many outfielders they have too. I mean, Tapia, Cargo, Blackman, Desmond. You've got a lot of outfielders out there that can play and are good. They're good options. So how do you play Trevor Story when everyone can move into slots in that lineup? So I don't see it. I don't see it happening.
Like I honestly, I wouldn't feel bad dropping him even in shallower dynasty leagues.
I don't think so either. I don't think I'd be off-putted by that. I just think that Story was one of those one-hit wonders where you're like, he carried you to maybe the fantasy playoffs last year before he got injured, and now he's just nothing. I don't know. Obviously he's got power, but he's not doing much. He was always projected to be more of a speed guy too.
Exactly, and he's not doing that.
Not doing either. Yeah.
And then we got Carlos Gonzalez. Obviously, we talked a little bit about him before when it came to Tapia. Yep. He's been struggling, although the numbers are the underlying numbers are pretty kind for him, especially his walk rate, which is pretty good above last year and the last couple of years. He's walking at about a 10% rate. His BABIP's a lot lower than last year. His ground ball to fly ball is pretty high, and his soft contact's pretty high. But I as an analyst, I would say that Gonzalez will bounce back. As a fantasy owner, I want to, obviously we said we don't want him to bounce back.
Oh, yeah. I mean, since I own no shares of him, I want him to stay cold. I don't want him to heat up at all, especially because I think I versed the owner of his in like 2 weeks. So I don't know. I just, as an analyst, like you said, I think he's going to bounce back. He's a guy that can accumulate a lot of good stats in a very short amount of time. There might be a week where he hits 9 home runs. Like, he could just do that. He has that in his arsenal. So
right.
He's dangerous, and at any time he can explode. But I just don't believe in it. For some reason, I don't believe in it.
But this has been his story the last couple of years. He's done terrible in the first half. People are like, oh, man, is Cargo done? And then he just goes off in the second half. I don't remember if it was last year or the year before, but I think he hit like 20 home runs in the second half.
Yeah, and then everyone drafts him again in like the 5th round, and they're like, "Oh, let's do it again." And then the first half, they're like, "Oh, he's doing nothing." Second half, boom, 35 home runs. Like,
absolutely,
it doesn't make any sense. Cargo is an anomaly. Buy low if you can, I guess. He's gonna get those stats in a short period of time. So.
Yeah, definitely buy low, especially in redraft leagues.
Yeah.
And last guy is Kyle Schwarber, who aforementioned had a minor league stint, but the power has been there, 13 home runs in 68 games. But the average hasn't.
Yeah.
Gotten 178.
I mean, in Yahoo leagues, Schwarber has catcher eligibility, so I don't care if you put him there. There's not really many good options at catcher. I mean, I have Wilson Contreras this whole year, and he's been like playing every 3 days, and it's infuriating. But there's not many better options. Just throw him in there. Hopefully he raises his average and hits per power. I mean,
yeah, and I think it's a little bit unfair. I think there was too much hype on what he could do just because he was catcher eligible. I think the
and
hype
just because the World Series too.
Yeah, the World Series. His BABIP is lower. Obviously, we can't look at his BABIP last year because he was injured most of it. But he had a 293 BABIP in 2015, and it's at 206 right now. So you got to think that rises a little bit to get his average up. And power is there. So, he's catcher eligible. So, like Lee said, just put him there and hope he produces.
Yeah, I mean, you can't expect the world from him, but you could expect him maybe to finish with 25 homers. I don't know, like at a catcher spot, that's not terrible.
Absolutely, and our last section today is going to talk about some prospects that could come up and help your fantasy team in the second half, and we'll start off with 2 of the Mets, with the first one being Ahmed Rosario.
Oh man, my boy, he's so good. I mean, he's more of a defensive guy. So anyone who's expecting him to come up and torch and be a guy who's going to hit homers left and right and steal a billion bases, he's not going to be that guy. Just clear disclaimer, he is not going to be that guy. He can bat 290 to 300. He's going to do it. He's going to get you a little bit of RBIs, a little bit of runs. For some reason, I just don't believe the Mets score runs anymore. So I don't know how many runs he'll get you, but he'll steal a little bit of bases. He'll hit a little bit of home runs. He's got a little bit of pop, but he's mainly going to be coming up for defense. So don't think that he's going to be this second coming Trevor Story all-star guy. He's going to be great shortstop for you if you have someone like who's a good example of a struggling shortstop. If you have Trevor Story, maybe you want to pick up Ahmed Rosario, Yeah,
that's what I said earlier. And for people that don't know, I've been writing articles for Major League Mayhem, and I did the first podcast with him yesterday. And what I said about Ahmad Rosario is I think he'll do well, but I think he's one of those he's better in real life than fantasy purposes. He's going to be a lot better for the Mets than he will be for your team.
Yeah, he's going to be the solution the Mets need, but not your fantasy team need. I mean, I think that if you wanted Dansby Swanson, if that was your shortstop coming into the year, I think Ahmed Rosario will give you exactly what Dansby Swanson, or what you wanted Dansby Swanson to give you at the beginning of the year.
Yeah. Second guy is a guy I was so frustrated that he didn't get the call last year, and that's Dominic Smith.
Yeah, he's another guy that I like him more than Rosario for fantasy purposes.
Absolutely, yeah. He definitely can hit for average. That's one reason I really liked him. You know, he's got 12 home runs so far this year. He's batting .330, and that is in the Pacific Coast League, but still, those are impressive numbers.
Yeah, I feel like he is a way better Lucas Duda. So if you want a guy who can hit 30 homers and get you like a 290 average, he's your guy. He's a guy that's probably, to me, someone like a Justin Smoke archetype, where he can do something like what Justin Smoke is doing right now.
And yeah, and Lucas, it's not like Lucas Duda is tearing the world on fire. No. Honestly, if I were the Mets, you know, this is a lost year due to injuries, other reasons. Call up, see who you have for next year, and build around that to compete next year once all the pitchers are healthy. You know who you got from the minors, Rosario, Smith, etc. You know, and just I want to see them bring that up, you know, for them to see who they have next year and for us fantasy-wise.
I think that the Mets season this year is sadly lost. I don't know. I hope Syndergaard comes back for fantasy purposes and for real-life purposes. But to me, sell off Lucas Duda. He's not got many years left. Sell off Lucas Duda. Sell off Curtis Granderson. Even though I love Grandy, he's such a good person in real life. I mean, he signs autographs right before he at bat, and he gives people pounds. He's dope. He's awesome as hell. But I think that you got to sell Grandy. You got to sell Duda. Just sell everybody. Just sell people, replenish the farm system, call up Dom Smith, call up Ahmed Rosario, see what they've got, and just play with it. Just have fun with it. Let this year be a learning experience, and then next year we'll rip it. So,
yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Mets still, you know, a lot of the Mets issues have been just all those injuries, and they got great minor leagues. They have a great staff once healthy, and they should be right back in it next year.
Yeah, and we missed out on the biggest free agent signing of the year, Bartolo Colon. So I'm pretty pissed about that.
Yeah. So we got a couple other minor leaguers that just left in my mind that should get the call coming up next year. I mean, this year.
There's a lot of good prospects in the waiting.
Yeah, there are, definitely. I mean, a lot of Rye Hoskins, first baseman for the Phillies.
He looked good in the Futures game.
Yeah, and this has been a guy I've been following since last year. He had a ton of home runs last year. He hit 38 last year, and he's already got 20 this year, and he's batting .289. And, you know, it's just so frustrating because Tommy Joseph is such a hot and cold guy, you know.
Yep.
I'm thinking, though, if he gets another long extended cold break, that we'll see Rye Hoskins in Philadelphia.
I think so, too. Tommy Joseph is not doing what we expected him to do, especially for fantasy purposes. And in real-life purposes, he's not doing anything at all either. So I think if Tommy Joseph struggles for like a good 2-week stretch, we might see Hoskins up very soon.
And something I found surprising, you know, Hoskins is a power guy, but he's got 47 walks to 53 strikeouts in the minor leagues, and he's a power guy, and that's something I really like.
Yeah, no, that's a pretty good ratio there. I mean, I think he's got a lot of potential. I think he's a guy that you could definitely grab and take a flyer on if he comes up and just see if he produces. And if he does, then great. But if he doesn't, you can just drop him again. So I think Hoskins is a very nice option that'll be called up later on.
Absolutely. And he was pretty much unheard of until late last year, going into this year. But now, you know, he's on the top 100 prospect lists for most sites.
Yeah.
And I think he could be relevant, especially if you need power going into the second half. So those are a couple minor leaguers you should look at. Obviously, there's more, but we don't have time to cover it today.
There's one guy for sure that I would like to say about, though. Did you see the Futures game?
I did not.
You did not? Well, there's a guy in the Rays system, Brent Honeywell.
Brent Honeywell. I own him in a ton of Dynasty leagues.
He is filthy. If you did not get to see the Futures game, all of you viewers, he is filthy. And I'm saying if he gets called up, do not hesitate to pick him up. He is filthy.
Absolutely. I did hear about what he did, 2 innings, 4 strikeouts. I didn't see the actual pitching.
He
but
made Ahmed Rosario look like a little leaguer. His changeup is unbelievable. I mean, it's out of this world. Just if you see Brent Honeywell has been called up by the Rays, pick him up without hesitation. I swear he's going to be great.
And obviously, I guess I should name an obvious name, and that's Yohan Moncada.
Oh yeah, well that's on everyone's list. I'm getting sick of seeing his name at the top of every prospect list.
Yeah. So that's about all the time we'll have today. Thank you, Lee, for joining. If you Lee does baseball card openings. He's got a channel on YouTube, Regicidal's Collection. You can also hit him up on Twitter at Cardicidal. He does a great unboxing video, so you can check him out there.
Thank you. Yeah, go and follow that if you guys like it. Thanks for having me, man.
No problem. So for Fantasy Aid, I'm Andrew, and thank you for sticking around and watching.